Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to make bread. You don't need any experience, I certainly didn't, and it's really easy to do. So here we go. To start off with, you're going to need a couple of ingredients, 3/4 cup of warm water, 2 1/4 teaspoons of active dry yeast, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 1/2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, half a cup of milk, and about 4 cups of flour. So starting off, we need 3/4 cup of warm water. Anywhere from 37 to 40 degrees Celsius should work. You're going to add in 1 teaspoon of sugar to the water. This is just to help the yeast grow. Give it a stir and you should be all good. Next, add in the active dry yeast. 2 teaspoons, add 1/4 teaspoon. Once it's in, give it a bit of a stir. Set the yeast aside and grab yourself another bowl or a little jar or a container, whatever works. In a separate bowl, you're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 1/2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, and half a cup of milk. Once it's all in, just give it a mix. Now you can combine the yeast mixture with the milk mixture. Just add them together and give it a stir. Okay, time for the flour. Grab yourself a large bowl, start off with 2 cups of flour, then make a well in the middle. Set aside a cup of flour, you're going to need this shortly. Pour in the yeast mixture into the middle and then mix it all together. Once the dough starts to thicken, gradually add in 1 more cup of flour. Just go a little bit at a time, give it a mix, then another bit, give it a mix, until that last cup is done. Get yourself a really strong spoon, because if you get a really thin, flimsy one, it's just going to snap. Okay, the dough's starting to look a little bit better now. Cool, we're on the right track. Put a bit of flour onto the table. Just create a floured surface. This is so the dough doesn't stick to the table. Put the dough onto the floured surface, and then put a bit of flour onto your hands. Start kneading the dough. Push, fold, and turn the dough, and repeat as many times as you need. If you still need more instructions on how to properly knead dough, just search it up on Google or YouTube. I'm sure there's someone else who has one. I kneaded this dough for about 5 to 10 minutes. Keep kneading the dough. Eventually the dough is going to get a little bit tougher and firmer. Fold up the dough until you form a ball. Press your finger in, and if the dough pops back up, then it's ready. Add a little bit of oil, and this is going to stop the dough from drying out. Make sure to coat the entire dough and a little bit of the sides of the bowl. Place a warm, wet towel over the top. You don't have to do this, but on a cold day, just put a hot water bottle or a wet bag on the bottom, and then place the bowl on top. It's just going to create a warm environment for the dough to rise. I've put mine in front of the heat pump, set it to max, and I'm going to leave it there for about an hour. After about an hour, the dough should have risen. If it didn't, you've done something wrong. Go back and start again. Once the dough has risen, punch the dough in the center and let all the air out. Tip the dough out of the bowl back onto the floured surface. Knead the dough really quickly, not too much, just a little bit more just to get it shaped together. Flatten out the dough. You can use your fingertips just to press it lightly. Fold the dough in half, right down to the center, then fold the other half of it into the center. Pinch the edges together so that they stick. Fold or roll the left and right side of the dough. Make sure to pinch the edges together and then place it into a bread pan. Place a warm wet towel on top of the bread pan. Set your oven to 160 degrees Celsius. I've set mine to 150 just because my oven, it always seems to burn everything that I bake. Leave the dough in the bread pan to rise for about 20 to 30 minutes. Your dough should look like this. Cut 3 lines across the top. I don't know why you do this, I just got told to do this, so I just did it. Place the bread pan into the oven and cook it for about 10 minutes. Take the bread out and then place some tin foil on the top. This is to stop the bread from burning on the top. Your oven might be much better than mine, so you may not need to do this, but this is what I have to do so I don't burn the top. Place it back in the oven and let it bake for another 30 minutes. Once it's done, just be really careful when you take the tin foil off. I've burnt myself tons of times doing this. Bring it over to a cooling rack. And look at that bread. See, pretty easy. And here you go. Nice, fresh, home-baked bread. Fresh out of the oven. Look at that. So good. If you haven't achieved this, that's okay. I failed loads of times before I got this right. So just go back and start again. Thanks for joining me, guys. See you later.